Live from the Mitch, Doug Ripley, Nikki McCrae. We're back with you here to begin the month of December, talking Old Dominion women's basketball. And Coach, have you completely gotten over the jet lag? I can tell you, I have not.
I have not either, but I love this month. Number one, because it's my birthday, it's Jesus' birthday, and it's Christmas. So, woo!
So you're celebrating all sorts of good stuff.
I know,
here.
But December, when I think of December, I'm like, oh, birthday month. Yeah, so.
How was first practice that you all have had, the first of two in preparation for William & Mary?
I think the kids are still a little jet lagged. It was a long travel day on Sunday, and Monday really, was kind of a recovery day, but exams are coming up, so I think a lot's going on. I could tell that they were very much distracted, but for the most part, had a productive day, got some stuff done, and we'll finish up tomorrow.
And not one but two victories to be able to reflect on, not only celebrate but also evaluate. We'll get to the evaluation in just a second, but you're coming off the 61-55 victory over Cal Poly, and then you defeated Idaho 67-55. What was your favorite moment of the trip, whether it be on or off the floor with your team?
Well, I think, let's start with off the floor. Number one, the scenery was beautiful. I thought our kids really had a chance to just walk around a little bit and get, familiar, with the area. And, they got in the beach, in the water, which was cold, but we did a little cold tub. And so those are always bonding moments. I thought the food was excellent. And just the camaraderie with the group, you're hearing them eating and they're laughing, they're talking, and it's just fun stuff to see. On the court, I thought we had some moments where we just had really good ball movement, especially our second game, and that's one of the things that we've been talking about: ball movement, player movement, and just kind of understanding our flow and what we have to do offensively. We can't hold the ball, so I thought we had some good, exciting moments there to where, hey. We got it in us when we move the ball. We just got to do it consistently. It makes it very hard to guard.
Monarchs begin the month of December with a record of 5-1. They take on another one-loss team this Thursday in Williamsburg when they travel to William & Mary. Tip-off 7 o'clock. We'll be on the air on ESPN Radio 94.1 starting at 6:30, and we will set the stage for the Tribe in just a little bit. But one more look back here at Cal Poly. Amari Young was named tournament MVP. She tied her career high in points with 17 against Idaho, and then tied a career high in steals with 5. It was a second straight game at the time because she also had it against Virginia, and then earlier this year against Campbell. She got the 5 against Cal Poly. Victoria Morris also named to the all-tournament team for her performances on both games, averaging, if I remember correctly, 12 a game. Next week, I want to go player by player with you and assess at the fall finals break, at least in terms of being able to focus on academics, how they're coming along this season. But in terms of just this event alone, Coach, who aside from Amari and Vicky stood out to you in terms of somebody who advanced their game the last two?
I thought, Asia Hudson really stepped up. I thought she focused on her defense, which allowed her to propel her offense. She was, very efficient, hit some big threes, fours. And was really efficient there. It was really good to see the ball go through the net for her because, she's been a little streaky for us. And she had a pretty productive off season as far as, working on getting to the rim and finishing and things like that. But, we need her to, be more efficient from three and be a lockdown defender for us. I thought Mariah Adams just was really solid, both games on both ends of the floor. We don't win that game without her defense. And collectively her, Asia Hudson and Amaya really did a great job, on 23, but I thought, Mariah was just solid. She hit big shots. She had some key passes. Her assist to turnover ratio is off the chart, which was really good to see. And then I would probably say, Marie, I thought she really came into her own, that second game, just finishing around the rim. And, the more games she have, the more that's going to lead to experience. And, her experience is what we got to get her more games and more and more touches in practice, more and more touches in the game so she can see the ball go through the net. But I don't ever have to worry about effort with her because she just plays really hard.
With those players, I know we talked about practice a second ago, but do you see it when players take a little while to get going and find their game legs? that it carries over into practice?
It does. I mean, it does. I mean, that's just part of it. That's the maturity. You got to come in, you got to be ready to go. I mean, for us, we only go about 2 hours and 15 minutes every day. If we go 2:30, that's a pretty long day for us. But it is a maturity thing, and that's where we got to get better. We got to come in. Our standards got to be right, and I always think about the standards that they've set. Okay, these are your standards. Let's get after it.
We've bragged on a few players and the improvement they've made from last year to this over the last few shows. Early on, we talked about Amaya Register after missing all of last year, and the look that she gives you all at the point guard position, even though she's not playing to her full potential minutes wise yet, as she's still coming back with the knee injury. And then you mentioned Snoop earlier, Mariah Adams. She, of course, you talked about her having a good weekend there, but she was what a lot of the players mentioned was somebody who really made strides during the offseason. Somebody else who I think earned some high marks, both among players and also staff members, Ashley Scott. She had a pretty good weekend as well, particularly on the defensive and rebounding side of the ball where she specializes. And Meredith McCall, who used to work in our academic services at Old Dominion. She's now all the way out west at Cal and came down.
Thank you, Meredith, for coming.
She came down and watched the Cal Poly game. She asked a question by way of Messenger. She said, as I was watching Scott play against Cal Poly, I noticed a huge jump in her game from last year. That said, which player will surprise CUSA opponents with their game this year?
Well, it's been a surprise every night for the 5-6 games. I mean, we've had a different leading scorer. It's just we want to get some consistency from our top four. But those are the things. I mean, I want Marie, to continue to develop. Got to get Jordan acclimated. But for us, we just want to get better. Just continue to get better and get sharper, and where we understand what we're doing and its flow. Right now, there's the flow isn't where it needs to be, but it's getting better. And just trying to find a rotation and all of those things. I gotta get that done pretty quickly here. I mean, this month of December really allowed me to do that. And we'll see where it goes, but rotation is really key.
Is it safe to say that from a coach's standpoint, you're kind of getting the best and worst of both worlds in the way that a different players stepped up each game? On one hand, it's great seeing players elevate and do something great. On the other hand, you don't know where it's going to come from game to game. Is that kind of the best way to describe how you get ready for each and every game early on with this team?
It is. I mean, I think it's a good thing because it makes us dangerous. I just want some consistency. That's basically what we're looking at. I don't care who the leading scorer is, but I do care about the consistency in who's getting the shots and who's making shots and the effort. I don't have to worry about effort and playing hard, but there should be some flow in our offense and people getting their shots. And that right there is the inconsistency. But we gotta make shots. I mean, we're gonna get shots. We gotta make shots, and we gotta make our shots. We gotta make layups. We gotta make free throws. We gotta hit open threes. All of those things.
Meredith, great question. And again, thank you for coming to San Luis Obispo and cheering the Monarchs to the first of 2 wins in the Share Slow Holiday Beach Classic. Dimitri has also dropped a question a couple of times here, and I want to make sure I get it to you. It's as we transition away from Cal Poly. He says, does Coach see our women's basketball program regularly scheduling SEC competition, including the Gamecocks, of course, South Carolina? Of course, earlier you started you got the victory at Auburn. They're going to return the home and home next year. Is there any other plans in the future here in terms of broadening the scope of teams you'll play out of, say, the SEC?
Oh, definitely. I think, as we continue to develop and we get the pieces that we need, for sure, Auburn is returning next year. One day we would love to play, South Carolina. And I know Coach Daly is not opposed to that as well, or anybody. I know a lot of coaches in the SEC that I'm very familiar with that know me. Whether it's Mississippi State, whether it's Georgia or LSU. I mean, I know a lot of coaches. So it's just making sure that we have, the players that, we want to win. We're not, we want to go and we want to win, and we want to be able to compete to win.
I've noticed it's been interesting watching on the men's side the dynamic of how they go about scheduling. They've always tried in the past to go for the home and home scenario when it comes to non-conference scheduling. But starting last year with the Syracuse game, and again they're going to Illinois this year, they're doing the single game, the bye games. Is that something that you're finding that you're having to potentially look into doing here as you try to schedule up in future seasons, or does it seem like Power Five teams are a little more ready and willing to schedule you home and away than say what the men experience?
I think they are. I think once they know who you are, like I know a lot of coaches, so for us. It was really good to get a home and home with Auburn. That's what we want. I want home and homes because I'd rather go there and then them return so that our fans can get best competition in our arena. I mean, the Chartway is a beautiful arena, and we want to be able to fill it and get those teams to come here to where we can pack the house.
And the Monarchs are going to be back at Chartway Arena coming up on Sunday at 2 o'clock, hosting UMES. That's Maryland Eastern Shore. For those of you all who are a little slow on the acronyms, but Maryland Eastern Shore, we'll talk about that as we get closer to that Sunday tip. And we'll also preview William & Mary briefly before we sign off here. But I want to transition while we're talking about something along the line of scheduling. We're less than 2 weeks away, we think, from when Conference USA is expected to announce the pods, or whatever you want to call it, the groupings for the new format that you're going to see the last 4 games in women's basketball. I've heard they called it bonus play last year, but they don't want to call it that this year. And there's a lot of details that we're still trying to figure out what exactly, how this is all going to shape out. So it's hard to kind of speculate at this point because from an outsider's perspective, I don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. Right. What can we expect? What are you kind of catching a glimpse of what's coming down the pike on what our fans can expect, what we're going to see here with the last 4 games when they're announced?
Well, I think I don't really know what to expect. I think it's all up in the air. I do think that proximity will play a factor.
Yeah.
That's as far as I know. And obviously they're gonna look at how how you're doing now and kind of base it. But I know that the proximity is going to be a big factor as far as for cost and all of those things. So.
And I've heard around the bend that the travel partner is not going to be part of the group. They're going to try to keep the travel partners separate as much as possible, and that might throw a little bit of a wrench in it as well. In our case, because you've got Charlotte, who's off to a great start. We're off to a great start. We both have 1 loss. Middle and UAB face a similar scenario. They're both usually contending. I'm really curious to see how that all plays out. But that said, your numbers are trending in the right direction early on at 5-1. Most metrics, whether it be things like RPI, and I say that only because the NCAA hasn't released the RPI yet, at least the first report, or efficiency ratings. I mean, you're toward the top 4 in a lot of different categories as far as the league goes. But how much are you guys as a staff paying attention to what's going on around the league? Maybe more so this year than in years past when this wasn't something that was a consideration as you guys got closer to conference play.
Well, I think for us it's just one day at a time. We support our our teams. Anytime someone gets a big win, or I'm texting them and wishing them all the best and saying congrats. I know I texted Kara the other day. She got 150 wins and things like that. So it's we're very supportive of each other. But I think at the end of the day, we're just really focused on our team and just trying to get our team better and get our team ready for conference.
And academically speaking, get ready for fall finals as well, which starts in a few days.
Yes.
Do you have any preference? Last question I'll ask about this for now. Do you have any preference in terms of who you would like to also play twice as a result of this? And maybe not so much the actual teams, but would you prefer being in the top pod? Or, I mean, is it one of those things that if these games are going to count, I'm not sure, I don't know whether or not these are going to count as in terms of determining your seeding along with the other 14 conference games you're going to play. Is there a situation where maybe you're not? I mean, you'd be okay with not playing in that top pod if it push comes to shove, and we end up in a different pod that with different teams compared to maybe the creme de la creme when it's all said and done.
I think, for us, we just want to finish our schedule.
Yeah.
Whoever we play is whoever we play. You just want to win every game. You just want to put yourself in a position to win, so that number one, hopefully you can get a bye and make it to Frisco.
I know it seems like I'm really just traversing here and rowing against the stream. It's just I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
I don't either. So we'll be waiting patiently.
Wait with us, but more importantly, this is all the more reason to these next 2 or 3 games could really play a heavy factor in terms of charting a positive course for this team moving ahead. Does it put an extra emphasis, though, on being able to take care of business in these next few ones, especially with folks like William & Mary and VCU on the slate coming up?
I think, for us, it's just we want to win every game. Every time we step on the floor, we play to win.
Yeah.
And, that's it. But it's about our execution. It's about our identity and just, our game plan and making sure that we're executing that part of it.
Okay, just a few more minutes here with Coach. So if you have a question, get it in here. Right now I'm having some issues with Facebook and our internet connection here, so doing the best I can to pull that up. But in the meantime, we've got a really good game expected on Thursday night. That's something that you started working on the floor today, as we mentioned, in practice. You'll have one more practice tomorrow, and then you go to Williamsburg 7 o'clock on Thursday night. We'll get into the X's and O's between Old Dominion and William & Mary when I talk to you in the pregame show on ESPN Radio 94.1. But on the whole, what can Monarch Nation look forward to with this matchup of one-loss teams in terms of what kind of game you expect it to be?
I think this team is playing extremely well. They're confident. They're dangerous because they play positionless basketball. And, anytime you got 5 players out on the floor that understand their role and how they contribute to their team's success, and they play their role very, very well. All they have to do is perform. That makes them very dangerous. Their players have gotten better. They're a different team than they are last year. Number one, those freshmen, those sophomores and juniors, they have more game experience and they understand the system. And they've added some great pieces. So it's going to be a dogfight. They are, again, playing extremely well, playing with extreme confidence. We got to be ready to go.
For those debating on making the trip up I-64, not only for this game, but also your game at VCU on December the 15th, what is the motivation to get them over the top and have them join us on the road for these 2 contests?
Well, our theme is empowered. Empowerment is, our fans continuing to invest in our team, and we invest in our fans. And again, we cannot do it by ourselves. And this group, they work extremely hard. We're still work in progress, but they're great. They're great people. They're great young ladies that they give a lot to this program and wanting this program to succeed. And we just need the continued support.
Had a great crowd at Virginia. I know many of you took a bus up there. Would love to see a lot in blue when it comes to those 2 games in particular, and then of course back at Chartway Arena with UMES coming to town. So again, it's 7 o'clock tip-off on ESPN Radio 94.1. We'll be on the air at 6:30 Thursday night from Kaplan Arena in Williamsburg, Old Dominion and William & Mary, before the Monarchs come back home Sunday at 2 to take on Maryland Eastern Shore. Before we go, Ashley submitted a question here a second ago. She was referring to what you were talking about earlier. She said, I know you said they were struggling a little bit in terms of some players. When that happens, how do they work to get out of it on the court?
I think you got to get in the gym. That's it. It's like, taking a test. You're only going to make a A, if you study and if you prepare for it. And, it's just like whatever. You got to get in the gym and work your way out of, things like that. So, and I think our kids are doing that, whether we're, knocking down shots, free throws, and things like that. So it's just, having a plan and having a plan to where you have to do your one more, do extra, every week.
Touching on that, as a player, what things did you do in your playing career when things weren't going well with regard to practice? Were there certain things that you tried to do to be able to kind of fall back on certain core functions of what you do out on the court, like some basic tendencies or technical abilities to be able to find your way out of a slump?
I think the biggest thing I did, I watched film. I was a student of the game, so
Okay.
I was always watching myself and, looking at what I needed to do better. And then, I just had a routine of getting in the gym. I think, that's where you get your confidence from, when you're able to just work on things, and, I'm a little bit different because I just love being in the gym.
Yeah.
And it was not, that's where I wanted to be, for the most part. I mean, I just wanted to be in the gym, and I love hearing that ball bounce. I love feeling that ball in my hands. And so I just wanted to, perfect my game.
And just about anybody that has reached the top level of the game, like yourself, have that same motor. How challenging and rewarding is it when you're able to at least pass a fraction of that motor on to one of your players or some of your players as you guide them along their journey?
I mean, it's always good, but you got to have those kids that are like-minded, and think that way. But there's a price, you can't think it and not live it out. You have to develop those habits every single day, because I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you just got to have a burning desire to be the best. If you don't have that, you'll fall by the wayside. Your day, you'll get distracted throughout the day. And I knew where my focus was. So it was, my academics and basketball, everything was playing around getting in the gym. That was me.
I think this is a great way to tie a bow on episode 4. What do you think?
I love it.
So we will see you at Kaplan Arena in Williamsburg Thursday at 7 o'clock for Old Dominion women's basketball as they too go and take on William and Mary. And again, we'll be on the air at 6:30 p.m. with the Toyota pregame show live on our flagship home of the ODU Sports Radio Network, ESPN Radio 94.1. Coach, we'll see you there.
All right.
For Nikki McCrae, I'm Doug Ripley. Thank you for joining us here on Old Dominion women's basketball and Empower.